Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. The headlines. The PF misses an opportunity to share grievances with the US Embassy. Former President Edgar Lungu laments turbulent moments. ECZ scraps off examination fees in public schools. And in international news, Congolese MP arrested in North Kivu freed by the authorities. And in sports, BANYANA-BANYANA jets in ahead of Saturday friendly against Zambia. Join me with the details after this commercial.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
And now the main news in detail. The Constitutional Court says it will, on the 24th of February 2022, deliver its ruling on whether Kwacha Constituency Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji should produce his Grade 12 certificate or not. This follows an application made Thursday morning by Mr. Malanji, who has appealed against the Lusaka High Court's decision to nullify his elections. Mr. Malanji's election was nullified on account that he did not have a Grade 12 certificate.
Arguments on whether the Constitutional Court should allow former Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malanji produce his Grade 12 certificate were heard Thursday morning by a full bench. Lawyers representing Mr. Malanji have submitted that the court has the discretion to order for any production of any document which was not produced in the lower court. Mr. Malanji has appealed in the Constitutional Court challenging the decision by the High Court to nullify his election as Kwacha Constituency Member of Parliament. In November 2021, the Lusaka High Court declared void the election of Mr. Malanji as Kwacha MP on ground that he does not have a Grade 12 certificate or its equivalent, which is a prerequisite for any candidate. During the hearing of the appeal this morning, counsel representing Mr. Malanji made an application requesting the court to allow him to produce his Grade 12 certificate, as this will help the court arrive at a sound decision as to whether or not Mr. Malanji has a Grade 12 certificate upon its production, arguing that the elections petitions are a matter of public interest. Therefore, the people of Kwacha constituency are expecting to know whether or not the appellant has a Grade 12 certificate, and further stating that this cannot lead the country to a necessary by-election if Mr. Malanji has a Grade 12 certificate. However, counsel representing losing UPND candidate Charles Mlenga, who has been cited as the first respondent, argues that Mr. Malanji's application to file his secondary academic qualification certificate on appeal, it will mean that the matter will be tried once again on appeal. He states that the lawmakers only realized the importance of the certificate only because the lower court referred to it and did not produce it during the hearing of the petition before the High Court. Mr. Malanji has also cited the Electoral Commission of Zambia as the second respondent. He has raised 10 grounds of appeal, among them that the High Court erred in law, in fact when it held that his election was void on account of eligibility. Further, that it was an error in law for the court to hold that he does not possess a school certificate when in actual fact he has. The court has since reserved ruling to the 24th of February 2022 on whether it will allow the application by Mr. Malanji to produce his Grade 12 certificate. Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Attorney General has called the Constitutional Court that the Judicial Service Commission has not neglected its constitutional duty, as the appointments of judges are done subject to the availability of office space. This is in a case in which the Institute of Law, Policy Research and Human Rights Limited has petitioned the Constitutional Court to order the Judicial Service Commission to identify and recommend qualified people to be appointed as judges of various courts in Zambia. The Institute says failure to do so is unlawful and unconstitutional.
Government has given its response to a petition filed before the Constitutional Court by Institute of Law, Policy Research and Human Rights that Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has not failed to appoint the requisite number of judges of the higher courts because it is a function which is progressive in nature and subject to other factors which include, but not limited to, funding. The Institute of Law, Policy Research and Human Rights Limited has petitioned the state over President Hichilema's delay to appoint judges to the Supreme Court, Constitutional Court, Court of Appeal, and the High Court to meet the minimum required threshold. The petitioner submits that the President and the New Dawn government has failed to appoint the required number of judges to the higher courts over 4 months of being in office and is perpetuating the illegalities of his predecessor Edgar Lungu. However, in response, the Attorney General says despite the President being in office for over 4 months, there is no time frame attached to appointing judges, and that Article 274 of the Constitution provides that a function conferred in the Constitution may be performed as occasion requires. That Articles 124, 127, 130 and 133 of the Constitution on establishment and composition of the Supreme, Constitutional Court, Court of Appeal and High Court are not coaches in the mandatory terms, but are merely meant to prescribe the composition. The Institute is seeking an order of mandamus compelling the Judicial Service Commission to immediately identify and recommend those who are qualified to be appointed as judges of the Supreme Court, Constitutional Court, Court of Appeal and High Court, and that the President, through the Attorney General, to fill all vacancies in the said courts in order to comply with the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act No. 2 of 2016 and the Supreme Court's Number of Judges Act No. 9 of 2016. But the Attorney General says the petitioner is not entitled to any relief sought because all higher courts are fully executing their constitutional mandate. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The opposition Patriotic Front has vowed to defend former Republican President Edgar Lungu, whom they allege that is being targeted for persecution by the United Party for National Development administration. The PF members allege that the arrest of Mr. Lungu's aide, Chisanga Chanda, is tantamount to the persecution of Mr. Lungu. The parliamentarians and other party officials who visited the former head of state at his residence have maintained that they are being persecuted in the fight against corruption claims which have been rubbished by the UPND administration. And the former Republican President Edgar Lungu has described recent happenings as turbulences.
Former Republican President Edgar Lungu's aide, Chisanga Chanda, was arrested and by the police last week. Police confirmed arresting a deputy commissioner of police, Mr. Chanda, for the alleged offense of being an accessory after the fact to a felony, contrary to Section 379(1) and 398 of the Penal Code Act, Cap 87 of the laws of Zambia. It is alleged that Mr. Chanda, on the unknown date between the 1st October 2019 and 4th February 2022, did receive or assist a wanted suspect. Mr. Lungu's Babaman, Shabi Chilekwa, was also arrested.
There's nothing like that. Let's see your back. Let's see your back. Let's go. You want him to show his back.
But the PF believes it amounts to maneuvers to get to Mr. Lungu. Shiwangandu constituency member of parliament Stephen Kampyongo led other parliamentarians and party officials to provide solidarity to Mr. Lungu.
Having been former Minister of Home Affairs, I would like to see the professionalism in the Zambia Police Service to be seen by the members of the public. We want confidence in our law enforcement agencies. It's scaring us to hear that in the course of their investigations, they're having civilians to interrogate people that they are subjecting to investigations. I think this needs to be dealt with. It has never happened in this country that would get a private individual to be part of the investigations. The
PF members of parliament insist that they are being persecuted.
Discouraged, and whatever thing which is happening in the country today, it is very unnecessary. Very unnecessary. The arrest of the ADC to the former president, that arrest was endangering the security of the former president, and it was very unnecessary for the police to act in the manner they acted. And we want to challenge the police. We are aware that the police arrested some youths in Kawata, and those youths were assaulted. And the police refused to give the youths the medical reports to access the medical attention to our health facilities.
It must be investigated, and people must, if they are found wanting, they must be brought quickly before the courts of law. I'm grateful that the lawyers for the Patriotic Front, who are acting for the gentleman who's in custody now, have been given an order to issue a writ of habeas corpus, and we are hopeful that the police can comply with that directive of the court and present this individual very quickly before the courts of law. But as we go forward, we just want to make it very clear that for us as Patriotic Front, we will ensure that the declaration that was made by the president at the beginning of his tenure, that everything is going to happen in accordance with the rule of law, is going to be complied with, regardless of who is involved.
Meanwhile, former Republican President Edgar Lungu has described unfolding events as turbulent.
So you cannot be a leader or a person, even in retirement, without people around you. I'm glad that I have the support of my colleagues from Parliament and from the party in this turbulent time that we are through. Obviously, statements have been made about this and that, but I'm not in a position to talk too much today, but to allow matters settle. As you very well know, my ADC was picked. The matter is sub judice. My Baba, Chilekwa, has also been incarcerated. Reasons are yet to be known, but suffice to say, all is well that ends well.
Patrick Soko, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, former Islamic Supreme Council of Zambia President Suzio Zimba has charged that the opposition PF is still bitter and has not come to terms with the reality of losing a general election. Mr. Zimba says this is evident in their approach in the provision of checks and balances to the ruling United Party for National Development administration. He says some PF officials never anticipated losing their political connection that facilitated their access to income.
There is need for us to go there, debate on issues that what people want to hear. We are there not because of ourselves, we are there because of the people. So it's always important to remember that, end of the day we have to go back to the community and report, whatever, is going on in Parliament. So, and we should also understand that for now, we should be using good language, especially towards PF, because they are bitter. To lose income, the income that they used to have for some time. Now they are just ordinary citizens. They are ordinary like us. They are not getting money like us. No, welcome to the club, PF. I think you never expected to be on the other side. So that bitterness, please control yourselves.
Former United Party for National Development spokesperson Charles Kakomba has resigned from the opposition Patriotic Front, and he has stepped down from his position as a member of the Central Committee. Mr. Kakoma, who was one of the longest-serving members of the UPND while in opposition, defected a few months before the 2021 general election to join the Patriotic Front. Mr. Kakoma says the decision to resign from the Patriotic Front was in full consultation of his family members.
Charles Kakoma was the United Party for National Development spokesperson, but prior to the August 12 general election, defected to the then ruling party, the Patriotic Front, on the 30th of March 2021. This was after now President Hakainde Hichilema dropped Mr. Kakoma from the position as the party spokesperson to chairperson Commerce, Trade and Industry at the party General Assembly. He said he could no longer associate himself with then opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema and his losing trend without knowing that victory was ahead.
16 again, I campaigned for him, and according to him again, he won. So I've been his faithful campaign manager. But this time around, I think I've campaigned for him enough.
Yeah.
All the two friends now decided that I'll campaign for the other friend.
Yeah.
Who is His Excellency, President.
In the Zambian political landscape, defections are usually characterized with mudslinging, thus making it difficult to return unless one is brave enough to undertake a walk of shame and pretend as if nothing bad was said and ever happened, thinking that Zambians are naive to remember. But in this digital era, Zambians will always remind you. Meanwhile, on the 10th of February 2022, Mr. Kakoma announced his resignation from the opposition Patriotic Front and has opted to provide consultancy services on governance matters.
After consultations with my family and friends, I, Charles Kakoma, have today decided to resign from the Patriotic Front. And as a consequence of that decision, I've also relinquished my position as member of the Central Committee from the Patriotic Front. I would like to thank the Patriotic Front as a party and its leadership, and in particular, the outgoing President, His Excellency, President EDGAR LUNGU, for the trust and confidence that they showed in me.
Political activists have always advised that providing checks and balances and changing associations can always be done in a sober manner in view of remaining relevant in a democratic dispensation. Patrick Soko, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Patriotic Front Acting President Given Lubinda has refused to hold a meeting with a delegation from the American Embassy who had earlier requested for a meeting with the Patriotic Front leadership. Patriotic Front Media Director Antonio Mwanza, in a statement made available to the media, says the U.S. political unit chief Alexandra King Powell and her counterpart David Chibamba, a political specialist at the embassy, visited the PF Secretariat along Panganani Road in Lusaka Thursday afternoon. According to the PF Media Director, Mr. Lubinda refused to meet the duo or anyone from the American Embassy until the American Embassy in Lusaka responds to a letter that he had written to the embassy 2 months ago. In a letter sent to the American Embassy by the PF leader contained a protest over remarks made by the U.S. President Joe Biden against the Patriotic Front at the UN General Assembly in September 2021. The PF says it would be an act of hypocrisy and lack of courtesy for the American Embassy to sweep the many critical issues that he raised in his letter under the carpet and pretend that nothing happened. In other news, the World Food Programme in Zambia says there is need to enhance effort aimed at eradicating poverty and hunger if the country is to attain its goal of becoming a prosperous middle-income country by the year 2030. In an interview, WFP representative and country director Ms. Sise Bienka notes that Zambia has experienced natural disasters which have caused mass destruction of property and destroyed food crops such as maize, further enhancing vulnerability. Ms. Bianca says one of the ways this can be done is by scaling up social protection schemes by ensuring that they are a reflection of the current cost of living in the country.
Global inequalities have remained a source of concern for a long time, as there seems to be a huge gap between the rich and the poor. This means that for some countries, basic human rights like the right to food, shelter, and education, among others, are not a reality due to the high levels of poverty. As a universal call to action and a commitment to ending global inequalities by 2030, United Nations member states in 2015, Zambia included, signed up to achieving 17 global goals by 2030, chief among which were ending poverty and hunger, as the well-being of a country's human resource has a direct impact on development. Unforeseen circumstances, however, have been acting as a threat to the attainment of the global goals, with the onset of the coronavirus pandemic in the world since 2019, and now natural disasters being faced by countries like Zambia due to climate change. Some parts of the country have been hit by heavy rain, which has resulted in floods and the destruction of people's homes and property. This has concerned the World Food Programme WFP in Zambia, who say unless deliberate effort is taken to cushion the effect of natural disasters on citizens, the 2030 goals of ending poverty and hunger will not be realized. WFP representative and country director Ms. Bianca was speaking to Camnet News.
To look at food security from a food systems approach, a holistic approach, looking at from production to supply line to processing and consumption, to address challenges on nutrition from production, processing and consumption.
She has further called for the alignment of social protection schemes such as the social cash transfer program to be in line with the cost of living in the country.
There must be ways how it is calculated, looking at the cost of living in the different places in the country, so it must be sufficient. We are basically looking at food and nutrition security from a sustainability point of view.
Concerned stakeholders have been making submissions to the Zambian government on how the eradication of poverty and hunger can be attained through allocating substantial increment in future national budgets for this cause. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Minister of Agriculture Reuben Piri says farmers across the country need to be taught post-harvest storage mechanism to prevent their agricultural produce from going to waste. Speaking during a high-level planning meeting for smallholder farmers in Lusaka Thursday, Mr. Piri notes that focus has been on the planting process, leaving farmers vulnerable to price manipulation as they are worried about their produce going to waste post-harvests. Speaking at the same meeting, Agricultural Policy Research and Outreach Institute Executive Director Chansi Kabage says there is need to reform the Farmer Input Support Program, FISP, as it is creating a dependency syndrome among small-scale farmers, hence hindering them from reaching their full potential.
Agriculture is the backbone of most economies, as apart from providing food and employment, it also provides the basic raw materials needed for industrialization and other sectors. It is for this reason that the Zambian government came up with a Farmer Input Support Program FISIP over 10 years ago to assist selected small-scale farmers with farming inputs like seed and fertilizer to ensure food security. With the yields having considerably increased following the initiative, it is argued that Zambia has not yet reached its full potential in the agriculture sector due to a number of factors. Speaking during a high-level planning meeting with stakeholders in the agriculture sector Thursday, Minister of Agriculture Mr. Reuben Piri says farmers also need to be taught ways of preserving their crops to prevent price manipulation due to fears of their crop going to waste. The minister further says as one way of enhancing access to markets, the ministry is working with other stakeholders to renovate Kasumbalesa border. He further says government is still planning to export goods to Saudi Arabia, working with the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock.
We are going to create a very good border with facilities. That is the next thing coming. We delayed. We should have had one of the first borders to fix. Should have been Kasumbalesa. So we want to create the facility there so that it is neat, it is decent, it is healthy, it has the right sanitary processes which can allow certain types of food to cross border. So we are working towards that. So when we come here to sit and participate, we have got input, but at the same time we want to get more of what is being said. Let us just be careful with some of the breeds that we are bringing, because our goats are very stable. No, but they are small, but they are very stable from disease. They are quite resistant. So let's be careful. We don't want these goats which get injected to stay alive and all sorts of things.
Meanwhile, Agriculture Policy Research and Outreach Institute ARAPRI Executive Director Mr. Chance Kabaye says farmers should be encouraged to source for their own inputs if to realize the full potential.
But we've made them get so used to be given, so they may even buy their own, but waiting, of course, the government one with something, they'll come for it. True, I agree with you. We need to reflect. We need to rethink through it properly and find a way forward so that the resources that are over and above can be used for some other more productive areas of the government.
Meanwhile, Crushers and Edible Oils Refiners Association Director Mr. Aubrey Chiwumba says banks should have farmer-friendly programs if the sector is to grow.
If we go further, we look at institutional support. Yeah, there is very limited support, a framework for support of agriculture, be it coming from NAPSA, IDC. Dr. Kayula can attest. We approached both of those companies. When he was at NUSFAS, he was given an offtake agreement with guaranteed pre-season price for 100,000 tons to come from small-scale farmers. Those two institutions did not rise up to the occasion to support that. Yeah? When you're a farmer today, when you go out there and you start farming out there, what you're telling that guy is got no social protection, zero, right? And you're doing nothing about it. And then you expect that his productivity is going to go up. How come?
In adding the voice of the farmers, a smallholder farmer from Chiwombo, Ms. Chifwembe Nsofu, has called for training in new farming methods in view of climate change.
What we need is more trainings and more people from different offices to come and interact with us, encourage us, because most of us are not educated. So we feel maybe we cannot participate in different fields and in different programs.
The meeting was attended by various stakeholders in the agriculture sector with an aim of brainstorming on how the agriculture sector can be improved. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Examination Council of Zambia has revealed that public and grant-aided schools pupils will not pay any examination fees in with government's policy of free education. Addressing the media Thursday, ECZ Director Michael Chilala, however, says private schools will be required to pay minimal amount depending on examination grades. Mr. Chilala has to this effect noted that only 221,570 candidates for the 2022 examination against the average annual candidature of above 1 million have been registered.
The candidates in public schools will be paid for by government directly, and for candidates in grant-aided schools, the government will recover the expenses from the grants that are given to the school and remit them to ECZ directly. So the candidates must be registered without paying anything. The candidates in private schools shall pay the following amounts of examination fees. Grade 7 composite examination, 60 kwacha per candidate. The junior secondary school leaving examination is 160 kwacha. And the school certificate examination or grade 12 examination is 440 kwacha per candidate. Candidates for the grade 9 external and general certificate of education examination are required to pay the following amounts as examination fees. Grade 9 external candidates, they are required to pay 15 kwacha per subject and 25 kwacha entry fee. The general certificate of education examination candidates are required to pay 120 kwacha per subject and 75 kwacha entry fee.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, ZAMBIA Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. ZAMBIA Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. ZAMBIA Electronics, the real deal.
Skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Do you have an extra car? Then make yourself extra money. We would like to put that car, yes, that car parked there, to good use to make you extra money on the side just through its service while keeping it safe and secure. Call 0765 02 3883 to register your vehicle with us today. Delpo Services. Service beyond satisfaction.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the rest of the news. A chairperson at Cancer Smart Youth Zambia, Ida Piri, says COVID-19 has had a negative impact on most cancer patients in that it has caused a delay in treatment. In an interview with Camnet News, Ms. Piri says cancer patients diagnosed with COVID-19 also undergo quarantine, which delays the process of treatment, hence causing the cancer to spread.
The COVID-19 pandemic has overwhelmed health systems around the globe, even in countries with strong economies. This is of particular concern for nations with weaker health systems. In Zambia, cancer patients have not been spared in contracting the pandemic despite health interventions being put in place. For instance, a major challenge for most cancer patients who are severely anemic is availability of blood for transfusion or alternatives to increase the hemoglobin value. Camnet TV caught up with a chairperson at the Cancer Smart Youth Zambia, Ida Piri, who disclosed the negative impact of COVID on cancer.
It has brought more harm than good to cancer patients because once someone has been diagnosed or once someone has been tested positive for COVID-19, and obviously they'll be put in quarantine, and let's say that space was the space they were supposed to start the treatment, meaning treatment has been delayed. And once the treatment has been delayed, the cancer is not on hold, so it spreads. When cancer spreads, it's hard to treat, it's very costly.
She revealed how difficult it is to treat cancer patients that have been diagnosed with COVID-19.
It's so painful and it reduces the survival rate. So COVID-19 has really had a very bad impact on cancer patients, and not only that, because of the low immunity that cancer patients have, so that a higher risk of contracting the COVID-19 virus. So what I'm advising each and every person
is to make sure you follow the 5 golden rules that have been implemented by Ministry of Health.
Patients that are critically ill due to COVID-19 are not eligible for active cancer treatment as per standard protocol due to poor performance status quo, and this will have no exception during COVID-19 pandemic. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Lusaka Province Minister Shiu Maliata has directed the Lusaka City Council to ensure that the owners of the crane standing adjacent at a building commonly known as the White Elephant of Freedom Way to remove the crane before lives are lost. The building has been a source of concern as its construction has stalled for close to 30 years, a situation members of the public have described as a death trap. Lusaka Mayor Chilando Chitangala says the local authority will move it if the owner fails to comply with the directives from authority.
The building, located at the junction of Freedom Way and Katondo Street in Lusaka, has remained a matter of public concern for over 30 years now. Lives have been lost in the building, while illicit activities have also been taking place right inside the facility. The Engineering Association of Zambia had in December of 2021 made an earnest appeal to the authorities in the country to ensure that the construction crane adjacent to this building be brought down, as it poses a serious danger to the lives of the people and traders in the central business. The call has, however, yielded no results, which has now prompted the local authority led by the city mayor Chilando Chitangala and the Lusaka province minister Shiu Maliata to move into action. The provincial minister has since directed the city council to give a 30-day ultimatum to the owner of the building to bring down the construction crane as well as attend to the incomplete structure.
I don't know the owner of this place, but I think it's time you called him, give him the 30 days, that's all. From there we take a new step. You know, in this building, I've heard people being beaten in this building. A lot of bad things happen in this building. This is where our youth sometimes do evil things. We have heard of all those evil things taking place in this. So we cannot just put a blind eye to that. We as government must make a move, and this is now.
And in response, the mayor, who could not disclose the identity of the owner, says the government will be forced to move into action if the owner does not comply with the directive.
No, the owner of this building has been communicating with the council, so we'll have to give a briefing to our honourable minister about it. He was informed and he knows exactly what we're supposed to be doing, so we'll put it in writing now. Now that we've been guided by Lusaka province minister, we'll give him 30 days to sort out this building, the issue of this building, and also to bring down the crane. This crane needs to come down. It's very dangerous to have a crane like this that has been standing for 30 years.
The provincial minister has also called on shop owners in Lusaka to ensure that they contribute to the cleanliness of the city by supervising street vendors who trade near their shops, as this will bring sanity in the city.
So we want people now to participate in keeping Lusaka clean, and it starts with you, the shop owners. I will seek a meeting with the mayor here. We'll sit with all of you and tell you what we want to happen in our city. Okay. We'll be back.
Always we tell them, please, don't throw like this, don't close it, don't put it here, please, move it, the rubbish, whatever.
So what about yourselves? Are you taking part in showing that you are cleaning your place?
Yeah, go outside, we are cleaning.
Lusaka province is the capital city of Zambia, which should be leading the way in cleanliness and order. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
In other news, an environmentalist, William Harrington, has urged the Department of National Parks and Wildlife to take keen interest in allegations by Fiera constituency Member of Parliament Emmanuel Tembo that wildlife in the Lower Zambezi is being illegally airlifted by lodge owners for personal benefits. In an interview, Mr. Harrington notes that the same should be investigated, as illegal exploitation of wildlife is a criminal act punishable by law according to the National Parks and Wildlife Act of 2015. The Fiera lawmaker is on record advocating for mining in the lower Zambezi, stating that concerns about the threats of mining on the tourism sector are not valid, as this industry is only benefiting a few individuals while locals are suffering.
Indeed, illegal exploitation of wildlife species is a criminal offense under the National Parks and Wildlife Services Act 2015 and is punishable by law. To be specific, Article 103, subsection 1 of the Zambia Wildlife Act of 2015 clearly states that a person shall not export a wild animal without a permit, and further goes on to say that a person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense. The federal lawmaker should also be reminded and cautioned that concealing of an offense, as he appears to have done all along, in this case, is in itself an offense which is punishable by law. Tembo should therefore help with investigations by providing any information and evidence of the crime.
We'll take our second set of commercials. Coming next is international and sports news.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Do you have an extra car? Then make yourself extra money. We would like to put that car, yes, that car parked there, to good use to make you extra money on the side just through its service while keeping it safe and secure. Call 0765 02 3883 to register your vehicle with us today. Delpo Services. Service beyond satisfaction.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Now getting into international news. A Congolese MP arrested in North Kivu in Eastern DRC has been released by the military authorities. The MP Josu Mufula was arrested on Tuesday and brought before a military court on Wednesday. The Member of Parliament is accused of inciting disobedience and insulting the army for distributing material challenging the security measures imposed last year in North Kivu and neighboring Ituri province. The government forced out senior civilians officials, replacing them with army or police officers with the declared aim of boosting a campaign against armed groups in the troubled region. The measure has so far failed to stem attacks. Here's a roundup of international news.
A Congolese MP arrested in North Kivu in eastern DRC has been released by the military authorities. The MP, Josu Mufula, was arrested on Tuesday and brought before a military court on Wednesday. The MP is accused of inciting disobedience and insulting the army for distributing material challenging the security measures imposed last year in North Kivu and neighboring Ituri province. It is true that we are in a state of siege where security forces are on the alert, but a member of parliament should not be arrested for nothing. To arrest someone, there must be serious indications of guilt, otherwise it becomes arbitrary. And that's what I can say as an MP and as a political person. The government forced out senior civilian officials, replacing them with army or police officers, with the declared aim of boosting a campaign against armed groups. The measure, however, has failed to stem attacks.
A prominent Ugandan novelist who was charged with insulting President Yoweri Museveni and his son has fled the country out of fear for his life. His lawyer, Aaron Kiza, made this known on Wednesday, saying Kakwenza Rukira-Bashaija was now seeking medical treatment abroad for injuries inflicted during his time in jail. 33-year-old Rukira-Bashaija last year won an international award given to persecuted writers and was detained shortly after Christmas. He was later charged with offensive communication in a case that has raised international concern, with the European Union among those calling for a comprehensive investigation into rights abuses in Uganda. The writer said he was tortured in custody and appeared on television at the weekend to reveal painful-looking welts crisscrossing his back and scars on other parts of his body. The charges against him relate to unflattering comments on Twitter about President Museveni, who has ruled Uganda since 1986, and his powerful son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba. In one post, he described the president's son as obese and a curmudgeon. The novelist was released on bail last month, with his trial due to begin on March 23.
As evidenced by
those fleeing the drought in Somalia are mostly women and children. The long dry spell has caused acute food and water shortages, with reports of some people dying from hunger. New arrivals have been reaching this camp for the internally displaced on the outskirts of the capital Mogadishu every day for several weeks. We have gone through many hardships, such as lack of food and water. We trekked all the way from our village to the settlement. We spent 8 days on the road. We have suffered and some people have died. 2 women who were with us died on the way. Drought conditions have left an estimated 13 million people facing severe hunger in the Horn of Africa, according to the UN's World Food Programme.
People are coming by thousands every day, outskirts of Mogadishu, just staying ensemble under the trees, no shelter, no food, no clean water, and there's not that much humanitarian agencies operating on the ground. So the people are really very in need, and they need support and assistance, emergency support and assistance.
Health authorities say the number of children being admitted for malnutrition has increased in recent months, as well as their fatalities. The UN has warned of a major humanitarian crisis.
The number of incidence cases of this malnutrition cases were highly increased for the last 3 months. The admission cases was also highly increased. Also, there was also mortality numbers of this severely acute malnourished children.
The World Food Programme says it needs $327 million to look after the urgent needs of 4.5 million people over the next 6 months and help communities become more resilient to extreme climate shocks.
We'll now get into our sports news. The South Africa women's national team is in the country for this Saturday's international friendly match against Zambia. The Copper Queens are using the friendly to prepare for next Wednesday's Africa Women's Cup of Nations final round first leg qualifier against Namibia, while the Siri Elias side led by skipper Gianni van Wyk will battle it out against Algeria. Earlier, Zambia women national team players were in high spirit as they trained at Nkoloma Stadium ahead of Saturday's international friendly against South Africa. And BANYANA-BANYANA are also using this match to prepare for their ALCON final round first leg qualifier against Algeria next weekend. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. The PF misses an opportunity to share grievances with the US Embassy. Former President Edgar Lungu laments turbulent moments. ECZ scraps off examination fees in public schools. And in international news, Congolese MP arrested in North Kivu, freed by the authorities. And in sports, BANYANA-BANYANA jets in ahead of Saturday friendly against Zambia. Before we go, our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Romans 1 verse 16 to 17, and it reads, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is God's power for salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew and also to the Greek. For in it God's righteousness is revealed from faith to faith, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.